Hello everyone, it's Reese from Fishman Aquatics and welcome back to Season 2, Episode 2 of Fishman Chats. Now, today's guest is an aquascaper, a podcaster, a YouTuber, an influencer, and also the co-founder of the UK Aquatic Plant Society. Now, while you're trying to think about who it is, it's kind of obvious, just make sure that you guys hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and also try and share our videos so you can get more of Fishman Chats. Now, in the meantime, while you've been trying to think, as you already kind of know, let's say hello to Mr. George Farmer himself, the aquascaper.
So hey everyone, welcome back. This is Season 2, Episode 2 of Fishman Chats with the man himself, George Farmer, who needs no introduction, but we have added one anyway. So, how are you doing, Mr. George? How are we doing?
I'm really good. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad.
Good.
A little bit in awe, because like I said, I've kind of idolized your work for years and never thought I'd get to this moment. So I'm proud of myself and also nervous at the same time, but we'll just see how things go, shall we? Right, so everybody knows you for your aquascaping prowess, should we say, and all the work that you do through social media. Your YouTube channel actually started 13 years ago. And I did go back and I've watched pretty much every video. I watched all the way up until around 4.5 years back. And then I thought, you know what, I'm starting from new, going the other way. So yeah, there's a lot in there, and your public watch hours might thank me, but yeah, it was quite intriguing, to be fair. What I didn't really get the sense of, though, is prior to those 13 years, because from 13 years to 11 years, it kind of jumped quite a bit, and you did something at 11 years ago that I'll talk about in a moment. But before that 13 years, I mean, you were a part-time aquascaper at the time. But what is it that started it? Like, when was that first time that you looked into an aquarium and you thought, this is what I want to do?
I kind of had a fascination with aquariums from an early age, actually. Like, excuse the background noise, got some building work going on, so I do apologise.
I can't hear it that much anyway.
Oh, no, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I always had a fascination with aquariums from an early age. My uncle had an aquarium, and he had neon tetras. I remember them distinctly. I think I was 4 years old. And then fast forward to sort of early 20s, I was married, and my wife had a friend, and her husband kept a really nice cichlid tank. And my wife said, ex-wife, said, "Oh, let's get a fish tank." And I was like, "Okay, I've always fancied a fish tank." And then did some research, bought a dual Rio 125, which for those that don't know is like a standard sort of entry level, popular in the UK and Europe aquarium system, 125 litres. And then bought a load of plants, which I thought were aquatic plants. They're actually non-aquatic. They all died, obviously, got algae. I did some research and quite soon discovered the work of Takashi Amano. And that was the point where I realized, actually, I'm really into this. I can really connect with this. And this is the direction I want to take my hobby. And I just became like super obsessed, So from the point of buying that first aquarium, which was sort of 2002, to sort of 2000, and for the first sort of year it was just learning the ropes, making mistakes. And then when I got that first book, that was when I was like relentlessly pursuing this obsession with creating that beautiful aquascape that I'd seen in the Marno's books, and that was the start really of the journey. That was the sort of pinnacle moment, if you like, when I opened the book for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that throughout your whole journey with aquascaping, that Takeshi Amano has been a major inspiration.
Indeed. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, he was an iconic person. With those first aquascapes that you did, like looking back on them now, how would you kind of fare them? Did you enjoy them? Or
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's a learning curve, isn't it? You when you start off anything, any creative activity, you're probably not going to get the best results when you start, and that's part of the fun. You know, you start off at a certain level, you make mistakes, you learn from them, and you get better, hopefully. And you know, that gives you the motivation to carry on improving and stuff. So I would never regard myself as a super talented aquascaper. I just regard myself as someone that's put a lot of hard work in. I'm a great believer in sort of just practice. You know, practice makes permanent. Not practice makes perfect, because I don't think, you know, perfect is a subjective term.
Yeah.
But you know, practice makes permanent. If you just keep practicing, you just incrementally get better. You might take a couple of steps back, but you know, you take 3 steps forward, hopefully. And that's part of the fun, actually. It is failing. I think you can embrace the failures. That's part of the fun, because that's where all the great learning happens.
Yeah, I mean, in the hobby, there seems to be that many different methods of doing the same thing that you are going to experience failure, and it's how you adapt from that failure within the hobby to do things better, rather than revert back into a state of not wanting to do it. Like, everybody makes mistakes. And I know you made one mistake fairly recently where you hadn't soaked a wood for long enough and it refloated. And, you know, I mean, you work with wood all the time, but even now, people that have been doing it a long time accept and learn from those anyway. Now, with your aquascaping itself, and when you went into it, I mean, let's say you went into it quite hard. We know that obviously you were in the RAF for, was it 14 years, as an armourer? And
that's right.
I mean, I know that it's a very, very high stress environment. Was aquascaping your outlet to that? Like, your slight escapism from a high stress environment that spurred you on to do it more and more?
Kind of. It's funny when you tell people you're in the Air Force and you did a bomb disposal tour, they assume that maybe that they kind of have this vision that your whole career was high threat, high stress. Actually, when you're based in the UK, it's actually quite sedentary, and you have a lot of opportunity to do kind of extracurricular activities. You know, I was into sub-aqua diving. I did a lot of running. I used to be captain of the running team in my local RAF station. I did loads of sort of stuff, and it was quite a cool, you know, quite a chilled career. But so in terms of using aquascaping, you know, as a therapy outside of that, it wasn't really the case. I think aquascaping for me, when I sort of contrast it with the career, it was just something that I was really, really passionate and interested in. And I wasn't really passionate about my Air Force career. It was just kind of a 9-to-5 job. And then, so aquascaping for me was just like, you know, any other kind of pastime or a hobby or a leisure activity that most people undertake in addition to a career. So I didn't really use it as a therapy back then. But what did happen was, after the kind of final tour of duty, when I did do a bomb disposal tour, where I was attached to the army for 6 months, that was the point where I realized that actually the military career wasn't for me. And actually, I kind of built up enough kind of reputation and credibility within the industry that I knew I could kind of make a go of it, aquatics full time in the industry. And then the kind of pivotal moment was when I kind of got hit in a roadside bomb in Helmand province in Afghanistan. And, you know, that was quite traumatic. There's lots of events that happened after that. But at that point, I thought, actually, yeah, this isn't for me. I'm not living authentically with my sense of sort of self and my sense of identity. And so I was in a fortunate position where I could, you know, make that transition into aquascaping full time. And the opportunity really kind of arose when my ex-wife asked for divorce. So this was like, you know, this is an opportunity to really hit that reset button and start a new life for myself, basically.
Right, yeah. So your aquascaping career has been a massive career in that a lot of people would only dream of doing some of the things that you have done. like the participation in some of the escapes that you've done, the people you've met and spoken to, and the relationships you've got. And most of it is over the last, say, 3-4 years now. Well, what it did strike me a little bit is that from about 13 years ago until 5 years ago, most of your videos were kind of more cinematic in the way that they were just videos with a music backdrop to them, or little tours around places. It wasn't really much of you talking in them until you started doing tutorials around, was it 5.5 years ago? So was it the wanting to educate people, or was there something else that spurred it on for you to actually get yourself onto camera and talk?
Yeah, it's a good question. I guess I just used YouTube as a platform just to store footage of aquascapes. You know, it wasn't really a platform to present myself, or there was no particular mission or intention behind using YouTube. It was literally just somewhere to store videos. You know, I happened to obviously make those videos public, so it was kind of, you know, I managed to get just, you know, the first couple of thousand subscribers just all very passively. And it was, what was it, 2014, 15, when I divorced from my ex-wife, moved into my new home with my now wife, and just actually it was my my youngest stepson Toby. He's 14 now. He was really into YouTube, and he said, and he looked me up on YouTube, and he said, "Oh, George, you've got 1,300 subscribers, you know, on YouTube." And I said, "Have I? I didn't even know." And he was like, why don't you do YouTube? And I was like, actually, it's not a bad idea. So I just started doing it little bit by bit. Nothing. I wasn't sort of paying much attention to it or looking at the algorithms or any kind of strategies or anything like that. Just posting the odd tutorial. And that was kind of as I was starting to work with a couple of brands more seriously. It's worth mentioning, actually, I've been working with brands since 2006. You know, when I started writing for PFK, Practical Fish Keeping magazine, I guess you could say I was like one of the kind of old school influencers. You know, didn't have Instagram or Facebook or anything like that back then, but I could use the opportunity, because I was writing for a magazine, to get, you know, products to showcase, and in Tropica's case, it was aquarium plants, obviously. So, you know, I kind of started working with brands right back then. But going back to the original point of YouTube, I didn't really take it seriously until 2000. I don't know. You probably know better than me. It sounds like you've been doing your research.
Yeah, it was about 3.5 years ago you started taking it a bit more seriously.
Yeah, so I could take it more seriously. I did a collaboration with King of DIY, Joe Mullen, and he didn't really mentor me or give me any sort of real practical tips. He just sort of made me realise actually you could take YouTube seriously and make a good kind of go of it, and make almost a career out of it. So I thought, well, you know, I can use a camera. I'm not too, you know, I'm quite confident in front of, you know, public speaking and being in front of a camera. So let's just see how we go. And yeah, it grew quite quickly. It was like a perfect storm of, I had really good opportunities of traveling. I was did a couple of weeks in North America, where I filmed some really great content over there. And then I did a really good video in Lisbon with the Florestas Submersas, the world's biggest nature aquarium, and that video went viral. And all these things kind of happened in quite a short period of time. So kind of the growth of the channel was quite quick. Yeah, and I was quite happy. And that growth then enabled me to sort of approach brands and get sponsorships, and it's all been really successful since then, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange that it was essentially your stepson that is the one that kind of kickstarted it off a little bit more. I mean,
Yeah, he
his
did, yeah.
first appearance was actually a feeding video that you did with him.
He did, yeah.
It was his first appearance.
Yeah.
On there. Shortly
He did,
followed
yeah.
by Florence not long
Be quick.
after with a trimming plants
Florence,
video.
yeah, that's right. So Florence is my biological daughter, and then Toby's my youngest stepson. And they did a couple. We did like a couple of trio kind of collaborations, which is really cute. But they'd absolutely cringe if they saw them now. You know, that awkward sort of teenager age now where
Yeah.
they'd absolutely die if their friends saw them or anything like that. So
see, when I first saw those videos, for me it kind of resonated a bit with me because, you know, my children want to jump on videos that we do. So like I went to Blackpool Zoo, so we did a video because they wanted to do it. We're going to Scotland for a week away and they want to do a video by the beach and look at aquatic life by the beach. So the whole involvement of family in the videos is something that I actually find quite sweet. It's a really nice sentimental thing that, you know, you can kind of look back on. But even during those videos, you still didn't kind of stray away from your, now what I know is your main goal of education. Because even in those videos, you were teaching Toby and Florence the Latin name of all the plants.
Yeah.
And they probably know more about plants than me. Like with the ease that they were kind of trimming things away and rolling off the Latin names for plants was actually massively impressive. But that is something that hasn't left your kind of mantra in a way of like, you don't make things for experts in a way. Like things may be an expert scape and a very, very difficult scape to look after, but you still speak on your videos as though there are new people, like, as you know, there are new people that are going to be watching. So even though you talk about the Latin names of plants, you also go into the care of them and how easy they are to look after. And not once through that whole 13 years of YouTube have you ever stopped doing that, which I find really impressive because a lot of people tend to kind of stray away and go into different directions, whereas you've had this same thing of educating people. You do videos for the people in a way that you don't want things to always be complicated.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I appreciate that feedback, actually, Reece. Thank you. I think, yeah, my core mission is to promote aquascaping, and then I like to make it as accessible and as approachable as possible, especially to beginners because they're the future of the hobby. And you know, aquascaping can be quite daunting. You know, if you go onto Instagram or Facebook or forums, you know, or you know, contest sites, you know, you see these absolutely outstanding, beautiful aquascapes, but they can be quite daunting and intimidating for beginners. You know, they don't know where to start. So yeah, my kind of mission is to make it as accessible as possible. And I tend to use easy plants. You know, I do use CO2 injection. I might use high levels of lighting and nutrients, but I do tend to stick to the easier plants, the lower maintenance plants, lots of epiphytes, lots of crypts. And you know, these aquascapes are kind of repeatable, you know, using the easy kind of step-by-step processes that I've, you know, recorded hundreds of videos on, and you know, countless magazine articles, and obviously in my book as well. So the mission is just to kind of just take a beginner by the hand on the journey and just sort of make it easy and not daunting and intimidating or overwhelming, because you know, the internet is great. It's there's so much potential for misinformation and disinformation. It's really quite hard to sort out the good stuff from the noise. And so I guess my mission is to help filter that out, and also not just by my own work, but I'm quite passionate about kind of lifting others as well, you know, especially smaller creators that are really talented that don't really get enough voice. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, go into the fact of using of easy plants. I mean, a lot of the ways in which you teach people and you set things up. I mean, there was one video I did not long ago with I can't remember his name, where you set up a tank that's 25 centimeter cube which people discovered your obsessive love for heavy drum and bass.
That's right. Yeah.
And even then, you chose simple plants, and you went to Aquarium Gardens, which is on my dream list of places to go to. To be fair, it looks like an incredible place. But even then, you weren't setting it up as how you wanted it to be set up. You set it up still catering to the needs of the individual and what their levels were. Like the one thing you've not lost throughout your whole 13 years is yourself. To the point where I have seen that you still dive in rivers to get pieces of wood. Like that was one video you did. I think it's about 12 years ago, where you jumped into one river to get another piece.
That was in Peterborough. I was actually with you know Jeremy Gay, don't you? He used to be PFK editor. Yeah, he was with me.
So I've actually got Jeremy on WhatsApp somewhere.
He actually filmed that. Yeah. So yeah, I did. It was actually a really funny story that. So that was a brick quarry in Peterborough, just opposite, just adjacent to an IKEA distribution centre. And I'm quite an experienced scuba diver from the Air Force, so I had some equipment, and I thought it'd be really great to set up a English lake biotope aquascape. So I used to hang around with Jeremy. He used to live in Peterborough, which is my local town, and we used to hang around at weekends. And we had this crazy idea of filming or going to this local lake and then doing some like proper field research. So I went diving into this lake and then grabbed this huge piece of wood, beautiful piece of driftwood, and there's a video of it on YouTube somewhere. And actually, that piece of wood was actually used. I donated it to the Green Machine in Wrexham. It's closed down since, and it was used in a beautiful Alton Angel aquascape. Yeah, so yeah, it's a funny story.
Yeah, I mean, it is the second video of you jumping into water.
There's one with the helicopter flying. Yeah, and there's a third one now with me recently in the local river. Yeah, I absolutely love open water swimming. The sea is better for me, but yeah, any open water, I think it's just something to do with connecting more, like literally immersing yourself in nature, not just connecting yourself by viewing a beautiful landscape or an aquascape or a seascape forest or whatever, but actually being fully submersed in water. I think there's something quite fundamentally attractive and comforting about it. It may be going back to the womb or something as well. I think there's something fundamentally attractive with being near a source of water, I think, because going back to caveman days where you may have to travel, miles to your nearest water source. So I think to be near a kind of natural source of water almost installs an unconscious sense of comfort, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I do like being near water, and for me, it's the tranquility of it. Yeah, being in water, it kind of feels much more freeing. Like, when people say what superpower would you want to be, and a lot of people say they'd like to be able to fly.
Yeah,
that's how I feel when I'm in water. You just feel free and you can just glide along. So
you've got all three dimensions. You can move in 3 dimensions, can't you? Whereas when you're walking or traveling in a car, you're just moving in 2 dimensions. I think it's going to be exciting when. Yeah, well, it's exciting, isn't it? Because in the next 10, 20 years, they're going to have, drone, cars like drones where we will be able to fly around, just like, there's jetpacks that are now working, aren't there? Have you seen that video on YouTube with the US? Is it like no, it might even be a Royal Marine. He's got like his jetpack on, literally like Iron Man,
hydro
flying around.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's absolutely crazy. I mean, we're doing what I'm actually very good at, and that's digressing away from the main precipice. I do it all the time, and I know through your bloopers that you do it quite a lot yourself as well.
Yeah, it's all part of the conversation. It's all good fun.
Yeah. There is one thing that I wanted to add. Any of those pieces of wood that you find, do you use them yourself in any of your aquariums, or are they for? Do you find uses for them elsewhere?
I think I've used them now and again in my landscapes. It's something. I actually don't do it very often, collecting driftwood. But yeah, I think it's worth kind of letting people know that are watching. Just do it at your own risk. Be mindful of any local bylaws about using, collecting anything on private land or anything like that. And do obviously be mindful of any potential pathogens, toxins, parasites, anything that might come unwanted guests, if you like, on that wood or rocks or whatever you're collecting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you said
but
that.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't go out collecting wood deliberately for any particular reason, or client or myself. It's just something. It's a spontaneous kind of act, if you like. Yeah.
I mean, I was hoping that some of them would have been used in the Aquascaper 1200 that you. I don't know, I think that Aquascaper 1200 that you had has seen more like YouTube personalities and big names in the game than anyone else other than yourself. It's kind of, other than George Farmer, what is in second place for all these meets and interviews is George Farmer's tank.
1200, yeah, it's a good tank. That it was actually quite a good story. That tank, it was actually built as a prototype, hand built in Wigan, Evolution Aqua. I know the guy that built it, and it was actually even before the Aquascaper brand was officially launched. And yeah, that was the prototype that they gave to me to test out. And yeah, that was 2015-16, and yeah, got rid of it 2019-20, and it's seen a lot of escapes, a lot of videos. So it was a great tank, actually. Yeah, I miss it, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, it had an incredible amount of transformations. It had seen an incredible amount of other people in the hobby. Now, I know that it was Joey that went round. Name a couple of other people that had seen that tank, just so people know how actual influential this tank is in terms of the hobby.
Yeah, so Joey Mullen, King of DIY, James Wong, who's the TV presenter, a couple of radio people, BBC radio, who are old Balash from Green Aqua, Yuri's from Germany, Adam Pashkela from Poland, loads of UK people, escapers. I think that's about it. Yeah.
I mean, you do actually list everybody in one of the videos as well. It's just I didn't write down every single name for them.
It's a bit of braggy, isn't it? Name dropping like that.
It doesn't really matter. We're allowed to do it every now and again. I mean, like I said, you had the Aquascaper 1200 for a very, very long time. It was a prototype for anything, and I'm guessing it was one of those moments where you first got it and you were like, "Wow, okay, this is a big thing with Evolution Aqua. You're kind of a part of this new aquarium brand that we're launching. And I'm guessing that was quite a proud moment for you, being involved with.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was pretty cool. The story was that I left when I left the Air Force and went into kind of self-employment. I did actually work for 6 months or so at Tropical Marine Centre as their freshwater brand manager. Did that for a while and then decided to move on from that. So did like sort of full-time self-employed freelance. Did a load of work for PFK actually. Did a load of kind of shop tours, news stories, obviously aquascaping articles. So that was pretty cool. And then the opportunity came to visit. I was in the area actually. I just bought an ADA 120p from the Green Machine. They're having a closing down sale. in fact, or they had some sort of sale on anyway. And I bought this AVA 120p. And because I was in the area, and I was mates with Jeremy Gay, who worked for Evolution Aqua at the time, I went actually over to see them, and they were, and just happened to have this 120p in the back of the car, and they were really interested because they make tanks themselves, and they were really interested, obviously, in seeing this 120p, and they were like inspecting the silicon and having a good old look at it. And then we got chatting. One thing led to another, and basically they offered me a kind of contract, and they offered to, because I was kind of marketing myself as the Aquascaper as a brand, and I had my own logo, and I had my own kind of Instagram and Twitter and everything, and Facebook as the Aquascaper. And when I started, that's when I just started to take YouTube more seriously, and I was doing the Aquascaper as a logo at the beginning of the videos. And they decided they offered to buy the brand off me, basically. So they bought the Aquascaper brand name off me, and in return I did 2 days a month. I was contracted with them, and together we launched the Aquascaper brand with Evolution Aqua, and that was the range of rimless low iron tanks. And then later on we brought out the liquid fertilizer, and then after that it was the glass pipework set, and then the lighting hanging kit. So over that 2-year period, I managed the social media, consulted with them on marketing the products, and working with retailers, etc., to get the brand out there, and organically grew their Facebook. I was quite proud of that. I organically grew their Facebook page from 0 to 10 followers in less than 12 months, which I was pretty chuffed with. So yeah, it was really good. It was a really good opportunity to learn more about the industry from a manufacturing perspective, as well as like wholesale and retail. And just, it's good, always good networking opportunities when you're working with any company, and massive fan of collaboration over competition. So yeah, it was really good. Good couple of year period.
We're going to get back onto working with the people and companies that you've worked with in a moment. But first, I wanted to ask you, what do you think your favorite, like, not necessarily an achievement, but just one of those moments where you're just like, wow, I've done it, this is where I'm at. What was your favorite moment?
So far, I really enjoyed writing and launching my own book. That was a pretty proud moment. There's something really special about having your work, kind of my whole kind of almost like a knowledge dump into one sort of volume of work. It's quite cool, and I really enjoyed. It's been quite stressful because of COVID and Brexit. The actual logistics of getting the book supplied has been really stressful, and it actually, I mean, it's a sort of a happy problem to have. It just kept selling out. Every batch that was printed, it kept selling out, and it's all just, the demand has exceeded the supply. So I'm grateful for that, of course, but that on the flip side, it's brought its own kind of stresses, and I've had a lot of disappointed customers asking me when they can get their book. So if people are watching right now, I apologize for the delays, and I appreciate your patience and support.
I mean, I saw.
But yeah, that's the proudest moment so far, I'd suggest. Yeah.
I mean, I saw an image that you posted where you had all these boxes in front of you. You had these books that you were signing one by one. And I mean, this is the book right behind me. This is the book that it's always there, and it always features on every video that I do down here.
Thank you, appreciate that.
No, I mean, just in terms of the front cover itself, it's so striking. It's lovely. And congratulations on the massive success of the book as well. It has been ridiculous, and I know I had to wait a little bit before we got it in, but not your problem. Not your fault, should I say? Not your fault. And but creating that book yourself was probably I don't know how to word it, like in terms of individual achievement was massive. Now, I know you've done lots of collaborations with other people, other companies. So you've already touched up on the work with Evolution Aqua. There's the Awaza ambassador that you were as well, so you were working with them. And then there's the Tropica that you also work with. I mean, I think people are more in tune to the fact that you have worked with Tropica than the others. You know, because it's a plant brand, and you're the plant man essentially. You know, it's how did those little collaborations and team efforts come about?
Yeah, the Tropica is the longest relationship that I've had so far with any brand. That came about when I started writing for Practical Fish Keeping, 2006, and I realised that Practical Fish Keeping were interested in articles, featuring aquascapes and step-by-step tanks. So I thought, I need plants. Why not approach a plant company that would be happy to supply them in return, for having their plants featured in the magazine. So that's how that started, and I've had a strong relationship with them ever since. The last couple of years, in particular, I've been doing more and more work for them. I manage and create a lot of content for their YouTube channel. Consult with them on a lot of marketing ideas and projects. I now manage their Tropica Instagram account as well. And yeah, I have a very, very strong relationship with them. I see them as they're kind of I'm really loyal to them, and they kind of feel part of the Tropica family, so to speak. I was going over there every month, at least once a month, leading up to the pandemic. And yeah, got a really great relationship with them. I mean, a bunch of the guys came over for my wedding when I got married to Emma, my second wife, my last wife, hopefully, final wife. Yeah. So Tropica's a really great relationship with those guys. I mean, I don't need to tell you how good quality their products are, plants and other stuff. Awaza is a very good relationship with Awaza as well for the last couple of years. I'm their kind of global brand ambassador. I've been a huge fan of their Biomaster filters in particular, and that's how I got kind of a strong relationship with them to start with. And then since then, I have 4 of their aquariums in my home office / gallery area. And yeah, they're a great brand, very good quality, German, and yeah, we're aligned on all our values. So it's an interesting topic, working with brands. I'm in a fortunate position where I've had a lot of experience in the hobby. I've been exposed to a lot of different brands, a lot of different kind of management styles, and different personalities. And I'm in a position where I'm very grateful to be able to kind of almost choose who I want to align myself with, and that's why I don't work for a lot of brands, but the brands I work for I think are reputable, and they are aligned with my own sort of personal values as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can't beat around the bush in the fact that saying that the brands that you worked for are actual massive quality brands. They are at the top of the game, like you say, with Awaza and the Biomasters and things like that. They're absolutely incredible. The Highline aquariums are beautiful, well made. So all those little brand collaborations and being part of something is quite a big step for, like, you don't usually see in the industry of fish keeping where let's say influencers are actually involved in a brand heavily, like say with doing things on Instagram and little bits like that. You'll see other Instagram things where, say for example, people will just put like a little product placement in a picture, they get paid loads of money for it, and it's that silly influencer style stuff. You actually work with these quality brands quite closely. Which again, it doesn't really happen very often in the hobby. I think you're the only one that I really know of that does it. There are others that kind of touch up on stuff, but you're the only one that works closely with us. And this has all happened over, say, the last few years when everything's taken off massively. What was that little turning point for you where everything was a full, viable, this is the good direction to go in my life kind of thing? Like I said, everything come together the past couple of years. But what was the point where it was like, my God, this is actually a big thing? Like, this is what I'm doing.
I think there was a few kind of converging things that were happening at once. Kind of, and I have to give credit to luck as well. I think it's really easy for success to be attributed to only hard work, but I think there's a lot of luck as well. So, you know, I'm not going to pretend that it's all just through my, you know, sheer hard work and whatever. But you know, the things that did happen that were lucky were I realised that I could make a go at YouTube, and as that kind of like I alluded to earlier in the stream, you know, I did a lot of travelling, and a lot of circumstances led to me creating a lot of you know, good content for YouTube. So that kind of accelerated that, you know, initial kind of surge of success, if you like, in inverted commas. And then from that, I could then, with credibility, approach, you know, brands, you know, like Oase, and I had other sponsors back then, you know, to sponsor my YouTube, and that freed me up financially to spend more time on YouTube. So I could really make a good go of that, and then from that, I started to really realize YouTube is great, but it's not a I don't think it's a long-term sustainable business model unless you're kind of risk averse and willing to go all in. And even then, there's always a risk of, you know, YouTube might just stop, you know, and if you're relying purely on advertising revenue from YouTube to survive, then that's probably a very high risk strategy. So I was mindful of kind of diversifying my revenue stream. So in addition to the ad revenue, I would approach brands and say, look, you know, if you give me a fixed remuneration monthly, then I will stick, you know, your logo at the beginning of all my videos and links in the description, etc. And then there's a kind of unwritten rule that I would incorporate naturally the brands and the products within the video without overly, you know, becoming a product placement or an advertisement video, and that worked really well. And that's been a kind of consistent business model regarding YouTube. And then in addition to that, there's been and I still write now and again for magazine articles. That's always been a passion of mine. Like you said, it's all about the education for me, education and inspiration. But yeah, does that answer the question, Reece? Sorry, I was rambling then. About turning point.
It does, yeah.
YouTube was really the
moments.
Significant kind of point, if you like, where I developed this kind of core business model, and everything kind of fed into that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it answered the question perfectly.
But I'll just talk about the YouTube in a bit more, because I think it's quite interesting that I think my YouTube channels, and I'm not kind of trying to brag or kind of compete with other channels. I just want to say that I think my YouTube channel is quite unique in that it's always a reflection of my kind of aquascaping work basket, rather than the other way around, trying to create content for YouTube. My usual daily working aquascaping activity creates content for YouTube rather than, you know, contriving content for YouTube. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we'll call it an expanded gallery. So it's work that you have already done. It's an extended gallery on work that you've already done.
Yeah.
Now, going back to that comment about YouTube, I mean, it's no secret that I've been watching lots of your videos constantly. And
Thanks,
the one thing that I find that stands out above anything else it's not something you can necessarily teach, or it's not something that, I mean, not disregarding your skill set, it's not necessarily that. It's the tone of your voice and the way that you speak to people as though they are there. It's very, very calming. It goes perfectly with the whole aquascaping thing. It's just, I found myself listening to videos and just being like, I feel so relaxed just listening. Like I say, you can't teach tone of voice, but that combined with
you can actually train your voice quite significantly. But I know what you're saying. Yeah.
that combined with the educational prospect of it, like I have learned so much over the past couple of weeks, constantly watching videos, and I say it's not just because I have a background in it. You do it for everybody, and it's not just all this paid work that you do. You also still go out and help other people with their aquariums. Like there was some 17-year-old that you helped with their coursework, and again that was helping that was brands coming in and helping out as well. It's not just
shout out to Will Bush if he's watching. I love helping the next generation or people that are less fortunate than yourself. I'm in a really blessed position where I've got access to really good quality materials. I've got time sometimes to help out, and why not use it to help others out? That's where they get the joy from. It's from serving other people with aquascaping. That's the core message that I want to get across is aquascaping is always bigger than any one person, and it's there to serve for the greater good.
Yeah. And
sorry, I'm getting on my soapbox. Sorry, mate.
No, it's all right. I mean, I was going to allow that to happen anyway. I was trying to link it into the work that you do and your beliefs that you have with aquascaping, helping mental health and things like that. I mean, I was going to get into this at the start, but it's just transpired that it's happened now instead. With the fact that your ego hasn't disappeared and the fact that you still have that one kind of thing where and you believe that aquascaping can help with anxiety and other mental health issues like that, and you still help out with those as well, don't you?
I try to. Yeah, I mean, I have quite severe mental health issues at times. It's no secret. There's a podcast that you talked about earlier which I really opened up. It's the first time I've really told anything like my full story. But yeah, I've really felt a huge therapeutic value from aquascaping, and I honestly believe it has helped other people as well. I know it has. I've had emails, and there's at least 3 people that have contacted me privately. I won't obviously name names, but they've all said that aquascaping has literally saved their life, and they've actually thanked me for introducing them to it and helping them on their journey. And that, we talked about what's the highlight of your career so far, and I said my book, but when you read things like that, actually that's much more meaningful, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose on top of the other achievements that we can say, like author, podcaster, sponsored aquarist, you've helped countless shows. You're in so many groups around the world in terms of aquascaping. We can also, suppose we can add a hero onto that, can't we?
Just a decent. I just want to be a decent human. I've made some. We've all made mistakes. I've hurt some people. I've done some really terrible stuff that and it's not like payback or anything like that, but it's just all the stuff I've done. It's kind of good to know it's not all in vain, because I've learned from it and I've grown from it and I've healed from it, or I'm healing from it. And healing is an ongoing process. And if there's anyone watching out there that are suffering with any mental health issues from PTSD, anxiety, depression, trauma related issues, then don't be afraid to speak up and reach out to anyone, but ideally someone that can really help. But yeah, aquascaping has been quite transformative in terms of how I perceive my identity, on this planet. And when I was in the military, that was kind of my identity, but it didn't fit in with my values and my, what I thought my identity was. So when you're living like that, when you're living inauthentically, it's you're causing yourself chronic stress in effect. And when you live like that for a certain length of time, you adapt to it, and you just think it's normal, but actually you're carrying around, this burden the whole time. It's like a thorn. And sometimes people will live their whole life with that thorn, inside them, and they've just adapted to it. But that thorn, it will just cause you pain and cause you emotional issues, and you can take them out on other people, and you can take it out on yourself, and it can quite damaging. And so if anyone thinks they do have a thorn, then do look at some kind of therapy, or speak to someone to help get that thorn removed, because aquascaping has helped me remove that thorn, and I know it's helped a lot of other people. And it's from, the thing with aquascaping, it's therapeutic on so many levels. There's the obvious kind of consumption perspective where sitting in front of an aquascape and, you're just sort of mindful and focusing on what's going on, and that beautiful, composition of light and movement and color and texture, even some sound. And so there's that therapeutic aspect. But there's also, for me, any creative pursuit that you become passionate about and you can get into that flow state, that's a beautiful thing. That creative aspect of aquascaping, playing around with the hardscape, all the way from choosing the hardscape materials, the wood, the rocks, the sand, the substrate, the botanicals, all the way through to actually positioning it in the aquarium. And then even like photographing it and sharing it with friends and getting feedback, this is all part of the process. If you're into that, some people aren't into showing off their work, but there's something to be said for that community spirit as well. And then all the way through, the preparation of the plants, the physical planting process, and then of course the development of the aquascape, watching those plants grow, trimming them, doing the water changes, fertilization, keeping an eye on the CO2, all of these things that some people may find quite a barrier to entry, but actually once you sort of do it step by step, it's actually a really joyful process. And you can, there's so many sort of layers to aquascaping, and it all can provide this therapeutic value.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you've touched up on hardscape, because it is something that I actually had in my notes, that you take a different approach to when you're looking at like pieces of wood and things like that. You take things from an artist's perspective, like you talk about the texture, the way something just feels to look at, if that makes sense. And it's really, you put things into a different perspective rather than just say, oh, that's a nice piece of wood, there's this nook and cranny. Is you talk about the texture and the feel of the wood as well. Like things have some form of emotion, as it were. Was there a way that you taught about like the layering of hardscape and the method in how it is that you put it together? Or like, I remember reading something somewhere when I was researching a bit more about Takeshi Amano. And there was this book that he would go on about called The Visions of a Japanese Garden. Like, that's what taught me how to put, I know, it sounds silly, put rocks in a certain way. Was there something that did that for you?
I think it was just, I don't think there's any fancy sort of mystical secrets or anything like that. It's just literally practice, just playing around with hardscape over and over and over again until you develop your own kind of sense of style. I think there's been a couple of sort of kind of groundbreaking aquascapes that I've done for myself personally, in terms of learning how to use stone and wood in a certain way that fits in with my kind of aesthetic sensibility, and then you kind of start to carve out your own distinctive style, I think, once you've developed that. It's very, very heavily influenced by Armoure's work from like the late 90s, early 2000s, my style. Very kind of usually quite simplistic yet bold hardscape composition. You know, I don't go for the really sort of super fancy twigs and intricate layouts like that. I tend to rely on kind of more minimalistic yet bold hardscape, and really heavily rely on usually quite dense planting, because I'm a huge aquarium plant fan.
Yeah. It's kind of obvious anyway. And you talk about, like I say, you're a huge aquarium plant fan. There was that massive scape that you did as well. Oh God, where was it again? Germany.
In Hamburg.
Yeah, I think
Berlin. Hamburg in oh gosh, Hagenbeck.
Yes,
Hagenbeck Zoo. Yeah, it's a 28,000 litre biotope, Southeast Asian. Yeah, it's epic. Yeah, that was good fun. That was back in the days where we could travel. God.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully we all get back to that very, very soon. Do you have anything like that kind of in the pipeline? Like, what's next for George Farmer?
God, yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, when I can travel again, one of the priorities is to go to Tropica in Denmark. I've got a really exciting project we're going to launch fairly soon, called Tropica Live, where we're going to be doing really sort of high-end studio quality live streams on YouTube using OBS and SLR, multiple SLR cameras. So that's really exciting. There's going to be loads of promo leading up to that, and giveaways, and we want to try and get 1,000 people concurrent views watching the aquascaping workshop live, and then we're going to get special guests over as well. You know, like Tommy from Green Aqua, Ty Streetman for like a biotope, and a few others as well. So yeah, bit of an exclusive for you, Reese. There you go.
I feel really, really special now.
But yeah, that's an exciting project. I'm working on. Can I tell you? I'm working on an exciting new project with Ty Streetman as well. There's been a few hints and sort of little revelations over the last couple of weeks about some stuff we're working on together. But that's going to be big. I think it's going to be big news in the industry. I think it's going to make a lot of people pay attention to something that we're doing. So I'm really excited, actually.
I mean, that's the perfect amount of information to give away. Just enough to get everyone excited.
Yeah, exactly. I worked on a TV show recently. I can't talk too much about it, unfortunately, but it's a very well-known TV show with probably 4 to 5 million viewers, and aquascaping is going to be featured on there, so that's really exciting. That took a lot of my time and energy over the last couple of weeks to sort that out. And then what else is big? Oh yeah, I wanted to travel North America. I've got some really good friends in Canada, and also, you know, the rest of the USA as well. But I want to kind of, my idea is to do like some kind of tour to promote my book, and then kind of combine that with like a YouTube vlogging series, and then also incorporate it with some kind of aquascaping store workshops as well. So like a trifecta of aquascaping content. Yeah. So that's exciting as well, if that comes off eventually when I can travel again.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite a lot that you've got kind of hopefully booked in that you're going to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Reese, I'm just going to work really hard for the next 2 to 3 years, and then just be in a position where I can semi-retire, and then just aquascape for fun, and just do like private clients, the odd workshop, a little bit of writing, and top up the occasional YouTube video just when I feel like it, rather than having to rely on it.
Yeah.
So that's the dream, you know, 2-3 years. My wife's got a good job. She can she can grind it out for another 2-3 years as well, and then we can kind of sit back and enjoy the fruits of our labour, hopefully.
Hopefully. I mean, that's kind of all that anyone wants to do, to be fair.
Yeah.
Now,
I'm not getting any younger. I mean, I'm 45 next month. Jesus.
Well, I mean, I don't want to just sit here and watch you kind of realize time. It's never a good realization when you just see what things happen and the time you have been working.
It's all good, mate. I mean, there's no regrets, you know. I chatted about this on a live stream a couple of weeks ago, but someone said, I went off on one actually. It's really funny. So I was on a live stream with Jeff Miyotki on the Awaze North America channel on Instagram. And we had some Q&As lined up, and someone said, what's your biggest regret? You know, and I think, and then so I went off on one about you shouldn't regret anything unless you've done something really bad, you know, because the position you are in your life right now is a result of all the choices you've made. So unless you're really not happy with where you are right now, then you shouldn't be regretting any choices that you've made. So I went off on one like this. and then Jeff was like, yeah, I regret getting rid of my reef tank. It's just like really funny. I was just like going off on one like this like philosophical kind of, you know, tangent. And Jeff was like, yeah, I just really wish I hadn't got rid of my reef tank. This is like really funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of chalk and cheese in terms of response as well, isn't it? I mean, it's completely two opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good job that
you have any. What's your biggest? You got any biggest regrets in fish tanks, aquarium world?
Starting. No, that's not. That's I don't have any regrets because you learn from each and every single one of them.
You should do.
You'd only
that's
have
the key.
That's
the key. I think the key is a growth mindset, isn't it? If you've got a growth mindset, then you just suck it up. Just learn from your mistakes. And
yeah, I mean, I think you would only regret something in this industry if, you know, you wasn't able to learn from it and it affected you in such a way that was a negative way. But you're going to make me go off on a tangent now, right? I'm going to be good and not do that.
Could we just do a quick time check? Because I've got to pick up my stepson from school. What's it now? 2:15. Okay. Yeah, I can do another 20 minutes or so.
Well, I was kind of coming towards the end now.
I was
about to start a recap for you.
No, that's good. No, I don't want to go. I mean, the 20 seconds maximum. I'm happy to go sooner, but it's cool. Whatever you want.
So, in terms of everything that you've done throughout your career, you've had an absolute incredible one. You've kept yourself grounded, and you've achieved so much. I mean, you're the man, the myth, the legend that is George Farmer. You know, throughout the UK, you're a massive name, and everything that you do. And I mean, the personal things that I know that are a bit of a thing. It is a massive thing to combat and become the person that you are, and the things that you've accomplished is incredible. So, I don't know, from myself and everyone that will be watching this, I think it's only fair to say thank you for everything you've done for the hobby.
Thanks, mate. I'll start crying, and then I'm quite a sensitive soul.
And I mean, thank you for all the education that you've given people, and obviously all the things that you've done to other people as well. It's a huge thing, and just the fact that you've even kept grounded through it all is absolutely incredible. So yeah, I mean, I think everyone should, right about now, be able to give George a bit of a round of applause. I mean, there you go. There will be other people watching it that start at the same time, hopefully. I've got a few quick fire questions for you before we kind of shut off for a bit. So some of these you've kind of already answered, but everyone gets a second chance at answering them anyway. So your biggest inspiration in the hobby?
Takashi Amano.
Yeah, that's kind of a given. Your favorite fish?
Neon Tetra.
Is that going back to that very first moment of your life with aquarium?
Yeah, absolutely. That was the trigger.
What's your dream aquarium? Like, if there was anything that you could do?
Like practically to live with in my current home, I would feasibly install an 8 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot, and I'd like to keep wild type discus in a beautiful kind of biotope style aquascape.
Yeah. Nice. I think that kind of finishes everything. I think we've kind of covered your whole career, and then we've even given a link off to the things that we brushed up on that. Again, I don't want to get into because there is a whole podcast and it will be in a link to that. So, but
Yeah.
I think I found out more information about you than I ever thought I would have done.
Oh, there you go, mate. That's the sign of a good interviewer. So congratulations. Done a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, Callum's going to stop the recording in a moment, and then I'm just going to have a quick couple of seconds with you when it's finished. But just for the end thing, I'm going to say thank you, George, for taking the time out and doing that. Thank you for being very, very honest and I mean, you still showed some vulnerability as well, which I wasn't really expecting for a hobbyist interview. But yeah, thank you, George.
Oh, you're welcome, mate. Thanks for the opportunity to share my journey and my passion for aquascaping. That's what it's all about.
Not a problem. And again, George Farmer's book, Aquascaping, is still available on Amazon and all major bookstores as well. So yeah, run out, buy the book, order the book, and enjoy the work that George has done over the past 13 years, put all into one book. So yeah. Thank you, George.
Thanks, mate. You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem at all.
Keep on scaping, everyone.
Keep on scaping.
Let's talk about that. Keep on scaping, right? You might want to include this in the thing. So, not many people ask me, why keep on scaping, but it's a really good phrase because it sums up what it's all about. So, through adversity, through challenges, through darkness, just keep on scaping. Just keep at it, and just even if you're really unmotivated, you've got no energy, you're in a bit of a pickle, even if it's just like feeding your fish or trimming a plant or doing a little water change or doing something positive to that aquascape or your aquarium, that small, manageable, positive step can trigger much more positivity. So what I'm saying is, and I've experienced it myself, even when you're experiencing the worst, darkest thoughts possible, you have a responsibility to look after these living entities in your care. And so the term keep on scaping is just keep on looking after that scape, keep on looking after that aquarium, because that's going to help look after you as well. So keep on scaping. There you go.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's the perfect 3 words to end it. So after 3, we'll say it at the same time. 1,
Okay.
2, 3. Keep on scaping.
Keep on scaping. There you go.